So, how does this go again? Welcome to the No Holds Barred Witchcraft Live podcast with that
Witchcraft,
dickhead
no,
Liam.
Chris, welcome to the No Holds Barred Witchcraft podcast. It's not the Witchcraft Live podcast. Witchcraft Live's that group we
What did I
got
just
on the
say?
Facebook.
What did I just say?
You said, welcome to the No Holds Barred Witchcraft Live podcast.
I did not say live.
Well, people can re-listen to it. It literally happened just seconds ago.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear myself say that.
Right, maybe I should take it from here.
Yeah, you do that.
You can't get the staff, can you?
Well, I told you, this is your job, not mine.
Okay, so Magical Christmas. It is that time of year. Christmas, they call it. It happens in December. Yeah. People go a bit cray-cray. Yeah. And it's like Halloween, but nowhere near as good. So, Chris, do you have any neo-pagan style celebrations that you do at your time of year? You know, Christmas time of year? The baby Jesus that changed his birthday. I don't know why. But he changed his birthday from being a summer baby to a winter baby. He has a big celebration called Christ Mass. The little Christ Mass. Yeah? The neo-pagans.
I thought it was for me.
No. The neo-pagans all think that obviously Christmas is a pagan celebration, when, as we all know, it only celebrates our great capitalist overlords these days. So
Santa.
The Christians have lost it. The pagans have lost it. The capitalist Illuminati is what it's all about now, from what I'm told.
Totes.
So what do you do at Christmas? Do you have any magical practices that you do? Do you celebrate? Do you run around naked in a circle with your friends in the living room?
No.
No?
No. Like I think I mentioned on that show that didn't happen. This is the season of obligation.
I tell you what, that is probably the best fucking way I have ever heard December. I don't know, described. It is the fucking season of fucking obligation, innit?
Season of obligation.
You're damned if you do, and you're fucking damned if you don't. It's one of the reasons I don't like December.
So I like it, but only because it feels like winter's finally here, if that makes sense. And I get all excited that winter's here.
Why? What do you like about winter?
I like that
because it kills a lot more old people.
I like that everything's dead.
I mean, if you're old and you haven't got the whole winter allowance for your heating, you can't turn the heating on, and your electric blanket fails, then you're a goner, aren't you?
Yeah.
When you look at the statistics of how many elderly people die, it's this time of year is where they all cross over.
Yeah. It's a cultural cleansing before the new year.
So you don't really have any magical like festivals and shit like that that goes on behind the scenes for you personally? You don't go out and light a bunch of candles. You don't go out and sing a songs. You don't, I don't know, get your old Book of Shadows out. I mentioned that word. And he's
you did, and I choked on it. I choked on that word, Liam. Why did you say such a heinous thing?
The BOS.
No. I likes to decorate tree. I've got to have a tree. Right. First weekend of December, tree goes up.
Okay.
That is guaranteed.
Who hangs from the tree? Because I can imagine that most people would think it's a lovely Christmas tree, probably a real one, and it's just got puppets of people that pissed you off over the edge, just hanging from the branches. Because if I had a Christmas tree, that would so be the Christmas tree I'd have.
No, I don't do that. Mine's a really nostalgic one. It's made up of things I've collected over the years, and I don't mean souls. Those aren't put up displayed.
Just years or centuries?
Just the years.
So just this lifetime.
Just this lifetime, things I've collected. What's really bad about my tree this year? You know how I like that kind of very Russian Soviet star that normally tops my Christmas tree. Well, we got some coloured lights this year, and I thought at the time it seemed like a really great idea to kind of stick one of the red lights into the middle, so it made it look like it was glowing.
Yeah.
Now it looks like I'm, signaling for the KGB to turn up.
And are you?
Like slow flashing red light amongst this very Soviet-looking star. But yes, so I may be having a Russian Christmas this year. The KGB might arrive.
Oh, Chris. We all know that secretly you are a Russian sympathizer. You do seem to like the Russians an awful lot.
I just like that they say what they mean and they kill the people they mean to kill. They don't pretend.
Well, they don't always. Sometimes they fuck things up upon occasion. Okay. So before we get put on yet another list, let's talk about magic and December. Because what I'd like to talk about is December specifically, this month we call it. Because most people talk about the Christmas, a lot of people talk about the Yule and celebrate this and that. And then there's a Saturnalia and all this sort of thing as well, isn't there? Now, what of all these things, is there anything that all these things kind of have in common? Is there some sort of magic that happens this time of year? What is the kind of magical weather forecast for this type of year? What's going on?
Almost all the stories have one thing in common, which is it's about a guiding light going through the darkness.
Oh.
So that's the main theme, shall we say, that most of the Christmas things have in common. And the reason for that is it's a dark time of year for the Northern Hemisphere, where we get long periods of darkness, place feels very cold, that sort of thing. And I mean because darkness is cold rather than, you don't really have a warm darkness. So people are kind of always on about bringing in light and bringing in green things from outside, the whole Yule thing, the whole Saturnalia, they're all about bringing in light and evergreen in this hope that they can survive the winter and summon next spring. You've gone very quiet, Liam. Have I suddenly said something that you've not thought about before?
I was just thinking about the stories of Christmas and that. I was thinking of the old Dickens and the Three Ghosts of Christmas. I was thinking about the star that the wise men followed, or the Magi, or whatever the fuck it is, followed, and this whole guiding light thing. So, because it seems to be Christmas is a great time, what they say, of celebration and family and stuff like that. But I've never felt that way, not because of the whole fact that I can't stand family, but because of the magic that the magical work that people seem to go on. It's all very secretive. It's all very quiet. It's all people going off on their own. So is this a hermit time of year, do you think?
I suppose in some ways it's about kind of conserving your energy to rebirth in the spring. But I don't know. I think coming together is a big part of it. But that's because it's about, and not so much about family, that's about sharing warmth and goodwill. That's about survival.
Yeah.
As opposed to, is that you would spend more time at the home because it's easier to warm one space than several houses. So there were lots of benefits to the family coming together at Christmas or during the winter, shall we say. But in terms of magic speaking, it's a dormant time. This should be preparation for the next year. So in some ways, what you should really be doing is kind of preparing energies, doing research, getting ready for what you're going to tackle next year. Should really be. It's a time of reflection before the start of the new calendar. I know that's tricky for a lot of the Wiccans, etc. Because, and I struggle with it too, but I kind of feel like I get a second. Okay, I'm going to say something now that sounds really, really Wiccan-y.
Oh, good.
So to me, I kind of have kind of these 3 cleanses during the winter. So you have this kind of preparation for the kind of last harvest. So Samhain, All Hallows Eve, whatever you want to call it. I have this kind of first cleanse at that point of winter is coming. Then get this second one at Christmas, where you kind of declutter, ready for all the shit people are going to buy you at Christmas.
And tidy up for when the people come around your house and all that.
Yeah,
Gotta make it all look nice. You know?
And then obviously I have this third one just before my birthday, when the new year really starts, which is February time, in that kind of purification period that people would call it, in bulk or whatever. So I kind of have these kind of 3 ritual cleanses that kind of come before my birth, the start of my new calendar year with my birthday. But I think that's kind of why I like the winter. For me, it's a series of cleanses of home, space, and self.
Interesting.
Which, like I said, sounds a little bit too pagan-y for my liking, really.
But you didn't get that from a book, did you? This is just something that's naturally happened for you, is it? Right.
Yeah. You know me, I think it's important that you find your own rhythm, and what that rhythm looks like should be, everyone should have a wheel of the year, which is their wheel of the year that kind of represents these kind of key changes that you hit every year. I suppose I'm just kind of more mindful of mine because of during the dark times, I had to figure out how exactly I self-regulate. But, maybe I'm a little bit more mindful of how my year looks and feels, and what parts of it are repetitive. But I couldn't tell you there were specific days. I just know that in the run-up to these 3 dates, I have these big cleanses that happen both on the physical and on the energetic one. Obviously, the biggest energetic one for me is kind of February, period of purification. But actually, the other 2 are a bit more in the physical, cleansing and homemaking. And then, like I say, season of obligation, you start pretending you like people.
Right. I tend not to pretend I like people, and I tend to do very much anti-Christmas. See, I'm allergic to it. So I tend to not go all out with Christmas presents, and I don't do cards and stuff like that. But still, I still get obliged to visit people and all that sort of thing. So although I don't do Christmas, I kind of get forced to do partly Christmas. I just don't do Christmas as much as everyone else does. October for me is the end of the year. October for me is that big last celebration, I suppose, of the year. And after that, November, December is all a mad rush to get things done for some reason. It's always kind of been like that. It's always been, used to be when I was self-employed, the most busiest time of the year was those 2 months. It was always, oh, we need to get everything done before Christmas shutdown, which is only a fucking week, but still you need to get everything done for that. Mad rush, rushing around, all of the stuff that you have to do for Christmas, all of the presents for buying, all of their little projects and things like that. And then that is over on New Year's for me. New Year's Eve, not New Year's Day, but New Year's Eve. So it's literally between October, end of October to New Year's, those 2 months is just mad craziness where I'm never really normally doing what I want to do. It's the biggest sacrifice of my fucking life is normally those 2 months of the year.
So what's your excuse this year?
What do you mean, what's my excuse this year?
Well, you've been a misery guts and unproductive, and you don't have the excuse of being self-employed anymore.
Well, I haven't, because that's with the obligations and stuff like that. Like, I've reached a stage in my life, my Saturn return has just come to an end, right? Just come to an end, not really very long ago, right? And that was hell. That was fucking nightmare, right? And that is like my November and December stretched out for how many fucking months was it? So I don't feel like I've got enough energy at the moment for this month and last month. I feel like I really could not give two fucking shits. I've bought, so far, I've bought one present for Christmas. And that was only because the person who wanted it told me what they wanted to do it. And I ordered it on my phone in front of them so they could pick the model number of what they wanted. That's the only reason I've got it. And I don't really plan on doing much Christmas shopping until near the end of the week. So I don't like this time of year. It feels to me like I'm teeming with ideas and don't have any of the energy to really start any of it. Whereas January is different. January, I'm like, wow, if this, I go off on 1,000,000 miles an hour and get stuff done in January. But that night, that Christmas, not Christmas, that New Year's Eve for me is like really big. Because New Year's Eve, people say is people often, because I used to have tradition, I don't do it anymore. But we always used to go to the casino, right, and do our New Year's Eve bet and all of that sort of thing, get absolutely fucking slaughtered. But that was always a very big tradition. Everyone would always be moaning about, oh, well, you know, end of one shit year, beginning of another shit year. I was always super optimistic. Like November, December, I'm normally miserable as fuck. But then as soon as New Year's Eve rolls around, I'm like, oh, this is brilliant. You know, start of the new year. Oh, I'm going to do so much. This, and this. And I get to write in my new diary and all of that sort of shit. So I'm really happy for that one day. So literally it is just a dead pit of misery between Halloween and New Year's Eve. And that's always been like that. And does that marry up with the energies at play here? I don't know. But that's just what my life's always been like.
See, it's the opposite for me. Like winter is that exciting time where all the cardigans come out and all the nice knitwears and the it's a textile season because everyone's desperate for them. So, you know, to keep warm and not die. So I don't know. I quite like this kind of build up over this period. I don't really feel like the build up's really been there this year. I don't know why. It'd be one of those things to blame COVID for.
It's the Omicron. That's what it is. That Omicron curse you made.
Maybe. It wasn't me. Mine would have been far more. Which one was
yours? Was yours the Delta?
That does sound like me, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But no, I haven't got involved. It's I don't feel it's something I should be getting involved in. The next new thing, maybe. I'm bored of this COVID now. I want something new.
Okay. All right. So
I feel like I want to bring leprosy back.
Oh God. Right. So Obviously, we know that you feel that there's a massive overpopulation in the world and that you think that far more people needed to die with this. Because there isn't that many people that did die. I think it's only in the hundreds of thousands in this country, isn't it?
Possibly.
Yeah, we were open for at least 3 million.
You know, clean
We
out
can't
some.
say stuff like that, Chris. You know that,
Yeah.
don't you? It's not polite to say stuff like that because someone's bound to have known someone else that died or almost died. But this ain't the feisty witches, but it is the truth.
This is no holds barred, I'll have you know.
This is no holds
Nothing is
barred.
off limits in this show.
Yeah, but this time of year, right? There's so many little projects that I'm thinking I'd like to do that. I'd like to give that a go, but I just don't seem to find any time to do it. You know, there's just so much stuff that I'm trying to do at the moment, and I can't find any time to do it. It's just that it just drains. And I know it gets darker early and all that, and always feels like later, but it's just a really shit time of year for getting things done for me. And I think maybe that's what I dislike about it.
I think it's the long nights that get me so excited, really, because it feels because I'm better at night time.
Yeah.
And obviously it feels like, whereas before you'd be like, oh, it's gone dark, I'll have to go to bed in an hour. Whereas now it's kind of like it's dark at 4 o'clock, which means I've still got a whole evening to get shit done. So I don't know. But magically speaking, I don't know. It's one of those times where if you thrive in wintertime and the feelings that are there, a lot of it is energy building and putting certain things to bed, preparing for the next year, that sort of thing. So I think magically it could be exciting. I just don't think people really explore it. Mainly because it's a season of obligation. So, you know, they're too busy doing things that they don't want to do because they feel obligated to do them, and therefore aren't producing. What's interesting is people have been very, very busy. So all the patrons have got loads of projects going on and still finding time to squeeze in a Witch Wars, which has baffled me really, because this is the sort of time of the year where I don't have any time. Because it's one of those opportunities for me where people are back in hometowns and whatever, so you can catch them for the first time of the year, and because you all feel obligated, you try and squeeze as many people in as possible. So I quite like this. Okay, come on then, Liam. What do you want me to push in the magical? Got about a little bit of time before we go over to the Patreon lot. God knows what we'll talk to them about today.
Maybe you could tell me, if you were to construct your own religious practice, like Wicca, for example, and you were creating a calendar with festivals and shit, what would your festival be for December? What would you call it? And what would you have the people do?
I don't know. It probably would be some kind of festival of light, I guess. And Saturnalia is quite a nice one. One, because Saturn's in there, so it feels like a good reaping. And I like a good reaping.
Would it be like a film where it's legal to kill everyone for a day? I don't know what that's called.
Oh, Purge.
Purge, that's it. Would it be something like that?
Oh, are you? Oh, I don't know.
See, I feel like this time of year would be better for the whole trick or treat thing. I've never really liked that for Halloween, because you've got the concept of trick or treat with Halloween, and I don't. It doesn't really. I don't like it. what I do like this time of year is all of the things that I think, because you're talking about presents and you always got to get stuff for people and do stuff for people and all that shit. I kind of feel like at this time of the year, more than any time, I'm thinking about who's on my nice list and who's on my naughty list. And the whole Santa Claus Krampus thing, I'm so tempted to, because I'm obliged to give people I don't like presents. I'm very obliged to give blessings and curses, you see, all wrapped up in a literal present. So, you know, it's thinking about attaching some sort of a magic to this time of year. Because the two things that I kind of like about this time of year is the Yule log thing. I quite like that idea.
Okay.
And then also the thought process of weighing up your year and seeing how it went, what went right, what didn't go right, the kind of debrief. Because I do that naturally with my life, but I also do that with the people that are in my life as well. So I think about, okay, who's been useful? Who do we need to cut from the list type thing? So I don't know. To me, that marries up perfectly with Christmas. Whereas I don't feel that does with Halloween. With Halloween, it's all about knocking on people's doors and getting candy and stuff like that. I said candy because we've got an American audience now.
I suppose.
But yeah, for me, it feels like, well, wait a minute. Halloween, witchcraft, magic, parties, dressing up, that sort of stuff, that makes sense. Christmas feels more like gift giving, you know, because of the commercialization of it. So it feels like, well, trick or treat is nice present or a nasty present. That seems to me like that would be my thing, to invent that. That's what I'd like. I'd like the idea of I like the idea of the Santa Claus thing, where, you know, you get, if you're good, you get something, if you're bad, you get something. But I feel like what we need to do is adults need to jump on board with this. And I think they needs to be not so much about, oh, kids will wake up in the morning and they'll get presents and get spoiled. I think it needs to be more along the lines of having a deity or spirit to blame. So if you get something like the old Secret Santa ideas, I love that. It's like, okay, so you've got someone that you've got to get a present for. It can be anything, and it's probably not going to be something necessarily nice unless you like the person, but you're allowed to get away with giving them a lump of coal or something. I like that. For me, it should be like this magical time of year where you know, in a nonchalant kind of under the radar way, say, I don't fucking like you. But you give them a present with a smile on their face, and the witches and the magical people will obviously do something that will make the next year, you know, cursed or jinxed or something, because that's another thing. This is a transition period. So if you wanted to give someone a jinx, this is a brilliant time of year to give it, because you can make their next entire year shit, right? This makes sense to me. This is what I want to see. What I don't want to see is you need to buy Christmas cards and presents for these people that you see once a year and that you'll call in and see for an hour. But there we go.
But then I don't buy gifts to those kind of people anyway, because seeing me is a gift in itself.
Yeah, but not everyone's as narcissistic with as massive an ego as you. They don't worship you anymore. Not in this lifetime,
I do.
Chris. Not in this sanctuary. But there we are. I think we're out of time for the regular edition of the podcast anyway. So you'll all go and be naughty now, and maybe attach some blessings or curses to your various presents that you're giving to people. Because just because you're giving someone a microwave doesn't mean it can't be a magical microwave. And microwaves are great for giving people. Microwaves are great for giving people cancers and shit because of all the radiation. And then they eat that unhealthy microwavable meal and they eat it. And it's just magical, absolutely magical. But there we go. Bye, everyone. Right, and for the patrons, where are we going with this then? People are thinking now, ooh, I wish I'd had something.